Hey lovelies, welcome back to another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make this very beautiful Bubu gown with a back opening. This dress has been trendy and I love the outcome. It's so beautiful and very comfortable. So if you're interested in learning how to make this very beautiful gown, let's get right into the tutorial. This is the fabric that I'm going to be using. This is an Ankara print and is a leftover fabric. I had to join it and it's 2 yards. So I went ahead to rule out my starting line. After I was done ruling out my starting line, I went ahead to impute my neck width. So for my neck width, I'll be using 4.5 inches for my neck width. For my neck depth, I'll be using 2.5 inches at most. Please, between 2.5 and 2 inches is best. Then I'll go ahead and mark my shoulder, and then after marking my shoulder, I'll mark the sleeve length. So the sleeve length for this project is 9 inches and it's quite short. It's supposed to be between 10 to 11, but I'm going to be adding something at the sleeve. So I went ahead right now to connect my neck depth and my neck width together. So after that, I came down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope, and then I went ahead to mark that's to connect my shoulder slope to my neck width. After I was done with that, guys, next thing I went ahead to do was to take my vertical measurement, which is the length of the gown that I'll be using. So the length I'll be using for this Bubu gown will be 36 inches, but I added 1.5 inches for the folding of the dress. So I marked my length and then I marked the allowance. Then I went ahead to use my ruler to connect the mark that I made into a straight line, just the way you see me doing. So after I was done with this, guys, I went ahead to determine my arm hole, like where the sleeve is going to stop, and I used 10.5 inches for my sleeve length, and I extended the line just the way you saw me doing. Then I went ahead to divide my hip by 4, and then I marked what I had. So what I had, since the fabric was small, I just from this end I came in by 1 inch. So from this end I came in by 1 inch because I'm using a 2 yards of fabric to make this dress. So I just wanted to exhaust everything in the dress. I hope you understand, in the fabric rather. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So after marking the 1 inch around this area, I went ahead to connect this 1 inch into a straight line, just the way you see me doing. The next thing I went ahead to do was to determine my back opening. So for the back opening, I used my half length for the back, which is 15.5 inches. I marked it and I came in by 4.5 inches, just the way I did for my neck width. And then after that, I extended the lines and I connected my neck width to the 15 inches back opening that I marked initially, just the way you see me doing. So I will just curve this area right now because you know your Bubu gown is not supposed to be straight. It has to be in a curvy part. So after I was done, I went ahead to cut out the front neckline first. So you're going to cut the front neckline first before cutting the back neckline. So after cutting this, I went ahead to cut my length, that's my full length, and then I cut the 1 inch that I came in by, just the way you see me doing. Next thing I'm going to do after cutting all of this is to determine where my pocket is going to sit. So for the length of my pocket, I'm going to be using 15 inches. You can use your back length for the length of your pocket. So I used my back length for the length of my pocket. So I went ahead to mark it there, and then I also notched it to indicate that this is my pocket. So after notching, I went ahead to separate my front block from my back block. This is because I want to be able to cut out my back opening. So after removing the front from the back, I went ahead right now to blend. So if you want your back to be blended like this, is fine, but for me, I don't want it to be curved. I just went ahead with the 4 corner, just the way you see me doing, and then I also went ahead to cut it out just like this. So after cutting, as you can see, this is now our back opening. So this is our back and this is our front. So the next thing I will do right now is to start cutting the facing of both back and front. So I went ahead to fold my leftover fabric just the way you see me doing, and I'll go ahead and place my back on it. So after placing the back, I will just go ahead and cut out. Are you seeing? You will notice that for my facing is opened while my main bubu is closed. So I'm going to be sewing it down. So this was when I was cutting out my facing. So after cutting the facing, I'm just going to separate my main gown from the facing, and I'll mark the length of the facing that I'll be using. So the width of the facing will be 1.5 inches. I don't want it to be too wide, so 1.5 inches is fine by me. So I went ahead to mark, and then I connected with my ruler, and then I cut it out. I'll also go ahead and cut the front facing. So our back facing is ready. I'll set this aside and cut the front facing. So I went ahead to fold my fabric for the front facing. Are you seeing? Then I placed my front block on the facing, and I will cut the neckline. And I'll also go ahead and mark my 1.5 inches and cut what is left. Separate my front block and then mark my 1.5 inches around the facing, just the way you see me doing. So this is my front facing. I'll set it aside. So the next thing I'll do right now is to cut my pocket. So I'll be cutting four pieces of this pocket. So you just check, measure your length, the length of the pocket, and then you place your hand like this and then cut out. The reason why you're placing your hand like this is because when you put your hand inside your pocket, you'll be more comfortable. That is one of the reasons why I placed my hand like that, to cut out the pocket. So this was it, guys. When I was done cutting the pocket, I will set it aside. The next thing I will now do is to cut out the rope for the neck side and then the inner rope. So because my fabric is not going to be enough, like I'm just trying to manage the fabric, I'll just go ahead and do a lot of joining. So I'll just cut different pieces. So for the wideness, that's the width of this piece, I'll be using 2 inches. Then the length as many as. So this was when I was done. I brought in my front block, and so that I can start joining them. So I opened the front, and I'll place the front and the back together. So the front and the back facing each other, the right side facing each other. I'll go and sew it down. First of all, I will pin to hold both fabric together. I will also go ahead and pin this other side to hold the fabric together. Then I'll go ahead and sew down the shoulder by 1/2 inch. Then I'll do the same thing for the facing. I'll go ahead and close up the middle part of the facing. After that, that's the part I'm pinning now. I'm going to close it up. Remember that our back is not opened, but this facing is open, so I have to sew it down so I can blend with the back side. I'll go ahead and place the facing together like this, pin it down just the way you see me doing. I'll also pin this side down, and then I'll go and sew it down by 1/2 inch. So when I'm done sewing, I'll show you how it looks. So this was when I was done sewing the main fabric, and then this is the facing. What I'm going to do right now is to place my facing together. So this is my facing. Are you seeing how beautiful it looks already? I'll just go ahead and set this aside. Then I'll bring in the pocket. So to attach my pocket, that place that I notched, I'll just go ahead and attach the front pocket first. While attaching, I'll just pin down from that notch point. That will be my starting point. I will pin down that notch point, and I'll also pin down this other part. I'll do the same thing for this other part too. I'll pin down from the notch just like this, and then I'll also pin down the other side of the pocket. I'll do the same thing for the back. Then I'll go and sew it, and I'll show you how it looks like. So this is the rope that I'll be using for both the neck part and the inner rope. I've gone ahead to sew them down. What I'm going to do now, because of the fabric is not enough, I'll just go ahead and cut, make the length to be equal, just the way you see me do. We're managing the fabric. So this was when I was done sewing my pockets, guys. Are you seeing? So I'll flip this dress over, and I'll go ahead and make marks for my back rope. So for the length of my back rope, I'll be using 2 inches. You can use 1 inch, you can use any inch you want, but I decided to use 2 inches for my rope. So at that 2 inches there, I'm going to go ahead and place my rope on that 2 inches mark, and then I'll pin it down. I'll do the same thing for this other part. I'll place my rope on that 2 inches, and I'll go ahead and pin it down. So after pinning it down, I will go ahead and I'm just tying it to show you how fine it's going to look already. So after I was done with these, guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to open up my dress so that I will place my facing. So this is my facing, guys. I'll just go ahead and place the front side to meet with the front side. So the shoulder of the facing will meet with the shoulder of the main fabric, just the way you see me do that. The shoulder lines should meet each other, and then I went ahead to pin it down. I'll do the same thing for this other part. The shoulder line should meet both the main fabric and the facing, right side facing each other, and then I pin down. I did the same thing for this other side, that is the back opening. I pinned it down just the way you see me doing, and I also went ahead to pin this other part down. So after pinning it down, guys, I will take you to the sewing machine so that you could see how I was able to sew it down. So this was when I was just arranging and then showing you how you're going to sew it round. So I took it to my sewing machine, and I'll be sewing it down by 1/2 inch. So this was when I was just sewing and making sure that everything is in place. So you just be sewing down all of the corners by 1/2 inch. So after sewing this down, the next thing I'll go ahead to do, and you should also do, is to top stitch. So I opened up and then I top stitch on the facing. I didn't top stitch on the main fabric, I top stitched on the facing. So go ahead and also top stitch on your facing. So this was when I was done top stitching. I've not ironed yet. So next thing I'm going to do now is to fold this part. This part, that's where the elastic is going to sit. So fold it in by 1/2 inch. Remember, we use 1.5 inches for the facing length width. So we have already sewn 1/2 inch, meaning 1 inch. So you will now fold in by 1/2 inch. Then the other 1/2 inch is where the elastic is going to pass through. So this was me just basically arranging and making sure that everything is in place. So I'll just go ahead and pin again, just the way you see me doing. I'll pin it again. So after pinning this part, I'll go ahead now and pin this other side. So before I pin this other side, I'm going to tuck it in by 1/2 inch, and then I'll pull my rope. That's the rope that is going to be at around the waist. I'm going to fix it around here. Just watch what I'm doing closely. I'm just trying to tuck in that 1/2 inch that I tucked in earlier at this end, and then I placed the rope and then I pinned it down. I'll do the same thing for this other part. I'll tuck in my 1/2 inch just like this, and then I'll go ahead and bring in the rope for the inner rope. So I'll place the inner rope here, and I'll go ahead and pin it down. So when I'm done with this, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to take you to my sewing machine and sew down this 1/2 inch. So I'll be sewing here, I will stop here, and then I will skip this part. I'll sew this part, stop here, then sew this other part, sew there, skip, like that. Just how I'm going to, but I'll take it to my sewing machine so you see how I'm doing it. So I went ahead to sew down the inner rope first. Are you seeing? So you sew down the inner rope, then you will raise your machine, your machine foot up Are you seeing? So that that place you raised up is where the elastic is going to pass through, and then you're going to go ahead and sew down this other side. I hope you understand. So just went ahead to sew down these parts. So as you're sewing, you just be arranging so that your work is going to look neat. So after sewing down this part, I will raise my machine foot up, and then I will skip that part that the elastic is going to pass through. Are you seeing? I'll skip that part, the elastic is going to pass through, and then I'll sew down my rope part, and then that will be it. So after sewing, I just went ahead to arrange my facing. I'll go ahead and iron and then put my hairstay under it so that I could give this neatness. So this is the extension for the sleeve. This is a satin fabric that I'll be using to extend the sleeve. I'll sew it down, I'll do my shaping, and then I'll fold the hem. So this was when I was done with the whole shaping and folding of the hem. The next thing I'm going to do now is to attach my elastic band. So this is where my elastic is going to be passing through. This place that I'm putting my seam ripper, the elastic is going to pass through there. So I'll go ahead now and bring in my elastic. So this is the elastic I'll be using. The width of the elastic is 1/2 inch and the length of the elastic is 5.5 inches. Are you seeing? This is 5.5 inches. I'll go ahead and bring in my safety pin. This is my safety pin, so I'll just pass it through the elastic and then I'll pass it through the hole, just the way you see me doing. Then I'm going to go ahead and pin down this part first so that the elastic will not go through that hole. So after that, I'll also go ahead and pin this part down, and then I'll go ahead and sew it down. So this was it when I rocked it to the cinema. I was looking so beautiful, so pink. I removed the elastic from the back. I didn't like it. So this was it, guys. Thank you for watching my video to the end. Thank you. Bye.